and let us all do we can to build a better future.
All right, with that being said, let's get started with the first segment of the day. So, it's recently come to my attention with what happened with Jon Stewart and our also fantastic members in Congress, most notably the GOP. That's right, we're going to be talking smack about the Republican lawmakers. For those of you who don't know, I served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. During my time there, I did 2 tours in Iraq, and I'm proud to say everyone came home alive and well and in one piece. Screw winning the lottery, we all came home. That's the biggest win ever. But sadly, there are countless number of veterans, men and women, who have been left behind, ignored by our government. And again, I have to be careful because of YouTube and its algorithm, but again, veterans are taking their own lives, and they're reaching into high numbers. Many veterans are struggling with mental health, physical health. Many veterans are struggling just to make ends meet. We hear from these politicians that they say to the American people and to the media, support our troops, support their families, but then they're quickly abandoned. These lawmakers are always quick to support any kind of war, and yes, send American men and women to die in these pointless wars. Many of these wars are for oil or other forms of natural resources. Some of it is just to, again, antagonize another nation. But when it comes time to help out these veterans, like anything else, like any other citizen in the United States, our politicians will abandon them. Because I said this before on the show, and I hope this upsets some diehard Republican voters and diehard Democratic voters. Your politicians in the United States Senate and House, be they Democrat or Republican, don't like you, don't think about you, and they don't respect you. Remember, they don't respect you. Now, Jon Stewart, he's doing something that I really appreciate and respect. He's talking about helping out veterans. And he has the status of a celebrity and an influencer and someone with a very powerful voice who's been covering politics for a very long time, longer than I have. And he's speaking truth to power. And he has a right to be upset. Because in the video that we're going to show you, he's talking about their cruelty and the hypocrisy of the GOP. I'm absolutely disgusted by the actions of our lawmakers, especially the Republican Party. You know, we always punch at the Democratic Party, but hey, this is one of those days where we're punching at the GOP. Lauren, I just want to get your comments before we play the first video.
It's always struck me as completely despicable, the way that we treat our veterans. I mean, I have not served, but I've had members of my family serve. My uncle was, in the Air Force. I had both my grandparents, of course. My grandfathers, of course, were in the Army. My brother was in the Merchant Marines. I have family who have served and who have been in active war zones, and they came home safe. My grandfather came home with permanent tinnitus or tinnitus. I'm not sure how you say that, but by 30, he was deaf, basically, because, of just how things worked out for him. But, he came home alive and he was okay. But there's so many people who don't. And the number of homeless vets that I see on the street, walking to and from work every single day, who live in my neighborhood, who are just there, and there's so little I can do, and there's so little that's being done to help them. And I know that the VA is vastly underfunded, and there's just no help being given once these people come home. And it's there's always money for a bigger freaking gun. There's always money for something while they're over there, which is, good. But then where can we spend something once they're home? They're still, fighting for us. They still did that. That's some incredible bravery of these people, and we're just abandoning them. And we've been doing it forever, and it's disgusting. And why can't we send some of the billions of dollars that we're using to, military funding? Can we just give some of that to the VA? Can we give some of that to the people once they are home? Because for a lot of people, the war doesn't actually end.
Yeah. And I think and again, we got a message from Pat Brannigan on the chat. The VA is underfunded, but we sent $54 billion to Ukraine for their troops.
Yeah.
So, look, I want to play this video now of Jon Stewart. This was caught on C-SPAN. And very similar to any other group in America, veterans are being abandoned just like anybody else. I want to play this video just for a little bit. You could watch it in its full entirety in our show notes description box below. But out of respect for Jon Stewart, I'm going to let it play for a little bit because he has every right to call out the hypocrites in the GOP. Because similar to the Democratic Party, the Republican Party is no better. And if you're a diehard vote blue or diehard vote red, go ahead and explain to me how the Democratic Party or Republican Party fights for its values, and they actually do care about people. Let's play this first video.
So ain't this a bitch?
Yeah.
Ain't this a bitch?
Yep.
America's heroes who fought in our wars outside sweating their asses off with oxygen, battling all kinds of ailments, while these motherfuckers sit in the air conditioning, walled off from any of it. They don't have to hear it. They don't have to see it. They don't have to understand that these are human beings. Do you get it yet? Do we see that these aren't heroes? These are men and women, mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers that we just let stand outside in the heat when they can't breathe. I'm going to read you something. This is beautiful. I'm going to read you something beautiful. You know what? I said a curse word, and I'm sorry about that. That was my fault.
Don't apologize.
Let me say something beautiful. This is a tweet from Senator Rick Scott of Florida from yesterday. It's beautiful. And I'm sorry about the cursing, and let me say something beautiful to make it up to you. I was honored to join the USO today and make care packages for our brave military members in gratitude of their sacrifice and service to our nation. And there's a beautiful picture. I wish you could see it. He's standing with a little package. Did you get the package? I think it has M&Ms in it and some cookies.
Didn't get it.
And some moist towelettes. I don't even know, honestly, I don't even know what to say. I've been coming down here 10, 15 years. I'm used to the hypocrisy. Christina Keene will tell you from VFW. She sat in an office with Mitch McConnell and a war veteran from Kentucky, and he looked that man in the eyes and he said, we'll get it done. And he lied to him. Because Mitch McConnell yesterday flipped. I'm used to the lies. I'm used to the hypocrisy. Senator Pat Toomey won't take a meeting with the veterans groups. Sends out his chief of staff. I'm used to the cowardice. I've been here a long time. Senate's where accountability goes to die. These people don't care. They're never losing their jobs. They're never losing their health care. Pat Toomey didn't lose his job. He's walking away. God knows what kind of pot of gold he's stepping into to lobby this government to shit on more people. I'm used to all of it, but I am not used to the cruelty. They passed it. June 16th, they passed the Pact Act. 84-14. You don't even see those scores in the Senate anymore. They passed it. Every one of these individuals that has been fighting for years, standing on the shoulders of Vietnam veterans who have been fighting for years, standing on the shoulders of Persian Gulf War veterans fighting for years, Desert Storm veterans, to just get the health care and benefits that they earned from their service. And I don't care if they were fighting for our freedom. I don't care if they were fighting for the flag. I don't care if they were fighting because they wanted to get out of a drug treatment center or it was jail or the army. I don't give a shit. They lived up to their oath. And yesterday, they spit on it in abject cruelty. These people thought they could finally breathe. You think their struggles end because the Pact Act passes? All it means is they don't have to decide between their cancer drugs and their house. Their struggle continues.
This bill does a lot more than just give us health care.
Gives them health care, gives them benefits, lets them live.
Keeps veterans from going homeless, keeps veterans from becoming addicts, keeps veterans from committing suicide.
Senator Toomey's not going to hear that because he won't sit down with this man. Because he is a fucking coward. You hear me? A coward. And like I say, I'm used to it. But this type of cruelty on those that we say we hold up as our most valued Americans, then what are we?
Let's pause it right here. All right. Now, look, I urge everyone to check out the full video. That link will be seen in the show notes description box below. Again, when we clip this video segment, just use our live stream of the previous episode as a reference. You could find it there. But to answer John Stewart's question, what are we? Well, what we are is a country that's ruled by sociopaths. People who lack the mental and emotional maturity to actually care about the people. Remember, the number one constituents to Congress, the Senate, House, President, it's not you, the average citizen. It's the bankers, the corporations, the Wall Street executives, the hedge fund managers. These are the people that Congress cares about. I mean, Mitch McConnell and any other Republican lawmaker will be slobbing at the mouth just to talk to one of those rich people in Wall Street, any one of those bankers. Remember, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, those senators, be they Democrat or Republican, are on the phone, listening to their donors so they get more money from their donors, so they can run their campaign, so that they can get reelected and call their donors again for more money. Now, to be fair here, the Democrats showed up for this one, except for the Republicans. So there we go. I mean, hey, I'll say something nice about the Democrats just this once, but that's as far as I'm willing to go, because if they truly were a party for the people, they would be calling out the Republican lawmakers, just like their colleagues, just a little bit harder, But again, once this is forgotten by the news media, they'll go right back to being friends with each other. Trust me on it. Same people donate to the Republican Party, donate to the Democratic Party. Lauren, your comments.
I feel like, Jon Stewart said it very eloquently, even if it was a little crude, which is fine with me. I don't care.
Yeah, you don't need to apologize right now.
No, that's fine with me. And you're right also. Like right now, sure, the Democrats are attempting to step forward with this a little bit, but I don't have much faith that they're going to last like the news cycle. Like they'll step back, they'll forget about it quickly. They're not going to keep fighting this fight. Like the next thing is going to happen and they'll move on to that, because that's what they do every single time. And they move on to the next thing. Whatever's in the news cycle right now, that's the thing that they are trying to do something about, quote unquote. And you're right also, because like the only thing that any of the politicians that we have right now care about is getting reelected again so that they can continue with their cushy jobs in their cushy houses with their cushy cars and second houses and private jets.
Gold-plated healthcare.
Like the only thing that they care about is maintaining their super affluent lifestyle and screw everybody else they have to step on to keep it. They don't care. All they care about is making that money. And that is all they do, is campaign and do nothing else to actually fix anything. And you're right. They don't care about us. They don't care about anybody but themselves. Like sometimes I'd be hard pressed to see if they cared about their kids. Like
Probably not.
I think that
Probably
they've gotten
not.
to a point where they've forgotten what it is to give a shit about people. They don't remember, like, they have been doing this for so long, and they've been in this mentality for so long. Even the new people who are new at it have been aiming at this point for so long that they don't remember what it is to have a heart.
Yeah. It's quite literally, you lose your soul when you walk into the swamp bubble known as Washington, D.C. I want to pull up 2 video clips, too, that we have. We have first one, again, now to be clear here, the reason why I'm playing these 2 clips in particular, because these are on 2 conservative news networks. One of them will be Fox, of course. But the reason why I'm playing them is because, look, conservative voters need to realize that the GOP, similar to the Democratic Party, don't care about their constituents or voters. They don't care about your values. They don't care about anything you believe in. They care about making money and scaring you. They care about you being divided. This is what politics has gotten us into. Now, to be fair here, Jon Stewart also went on CNN, and also on MSNBC as well. But I want to play these 2 clips here because, again, he's on 2 conservative news outlets. And look, you got to reach out to everybody. And that means also reaching out to conservative and Republican listeners, voters, so they know firsthand that the GOP, just like the DNC, don't care about you and don't respect you. That's the thing. The politicians don't respect you, and they sure as hell don't respect the veterans. Let's play this video phase.
But I did want to point out, just to push back a little bit on this, so the Republicans, when you say what you said, they do not support veterans. The Republicans push back saying there is unrelated spending within this.
It's not. It's just not true. What they're saying is they don't like that it's mandatory as opposed to discretionary. There isn't unrelated spending to it. They're saying there could be if there wasn't oversight, but that's what the Senate's job is. The bill itself is incredibly detailed and prescriptive about what it's for. It's about treating and preventing the different conditions that veterans are coming home with, including cancers and chronic bronchiolitis and all these other issues from their exposures in Iraq and Afghanistan. And to push back on what they're saying, what if this creates a slush fund, right? So are you familiar with something called the OCO, the Overseas Contingency Operations Fund?
Fairly, yes.
So every year, $50 billion, $60 billion, $70 billion is added to what's called the OCO on top of the $600 billion, $700 billion, $800 billion that goes to the Defense Department. That OCO fund is actually a slush fund, $60 to $70 billion every year, no oversight, no guardrails. And every one of those Republicans that voted against health care for veterans voted for the slush fund for the war. They don't support the troops. They support the war machine. And that's got to stop. The value in the U.S. military isn't in the toys. It's not in the hardware. It's not in the tanks. It's in the men and women. And until they start supporting them in the manner that they purport to online, they are hypocrites.
It is.
All right. Now, Lauren, I start off the last one. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's just more of what we were sort of saying already. And of course, the Republicans and who voted against this act are for promoting the war effort because wars make money. Mm-hmm. Wars make money. So, of course, the politicians who like the money more than the people are going to vote for the things that get them more money. War is an incredibly profitable experience for a lot of people, and these people in particular. So it makes sense for them to vote for the things that are going to continue them on their same path. And if you support the people, then there's less money for you. Just every single time. If you're going to support somebody else, if you're going to help them up, if you're going to give them a leg, maybe that's something a little bit less that you can't buy for yourself later down the road. And that is just an anathema to these people, that we protect somebody now, we give them extensive treatment because sometimes they need something extensive and they need something expensive. But, oh no, we can't make this sonic cannon now.
Yeah. It's the military-industrial complex. It's one big club and you ain't in it. And the military-industrial complex likes to profit off of these needless wars. Remember, under Barack Obama's presidency, we went from 2 wars to 7. Under Trump, hey, listen, the military-industrial complex was happy that he was finally launching those big, beautiful missiles in the sky. Corporate media was foaming at the mouth. Now Donald Trump is president. Now we got Biden in office, and we have a crazy war that's happening in Ukraine, and Nancy, old bag Nancy, is flying to Taiwan and could potentially start an international crisis with China. You think Nancy's going to lead the troops like Caesar? No, she's too old and too decrepit to do anything. It'll be young men and women in the United States military that will be fighting a ridiculous conflict if things get out of hand. God forbid it happens. I want to pull up this final video of Jon Stewart. He's on Fox News again, speaking truth to power. Just like how he went to bat for the 9/11 families, Jon Stewart's going to bat for the veterans. And again, it's really interesting how quiet most of the liberal people are, the blue check marks are. Right now, they're probably jumping on the bandwagon because they're punching at the GOP. But when the media cycle forgets this, and it will, they'll go right back to just ignoring veterans and anything else. Let's play this video.
Watched your clip from yesterday, and as we say back in Ohio, you were hacked off. Do you still believe that this bill will get done in some form?
Boy, I pray, Bill. You know, it has to. These men and women have suffered for so many years exposed to these, and the government has not fulfilled their promise to them, and it has to get done. You know, these men and women live, they call it scan time. You know, they get a scan every 3 months, and if the scan is good, they get a decent 3 months, and if the scan is bad, and they cannot wait any longer. This delay has to stop. And I want to dispel some of the misinformation that has been put out about this bill. No spending that is not related to veterans has been added to this bill. No last-minute budget gimmicks have been added to this bill. This bill is purely based on toxic exposure, healthcare, and benefits to veterans. And by the way, don't take my word for it. Don't take an idiot's word parked on a side street in New York for it. Congress.gov has the text of the bill. Not one word has been added to that bill from the Pact Act bill that the Senate passed 84-14. Not one word has been added to it. There is no added pork. Hunter Biden didn't sneak in and add in unrelated spending in the middle of the night. This bill is exactly as it was, with the removal of one sentence that had to do with taxation and rural medical facilities.
Yeah, John, I heard you go.
The bill that was passed 84-14.
Sorry about the interruption.
All right. So I think it's perfect to wrap this up here with a couple of final notes. Our country will screw you over, no matter what ethnic group you're in, what generation you're part of, who you worship, and it will screw over the people that it says it supports. It'll screw over its troops. Marines, soldiers, airmen, Navy, Coast Guard, National Guard, Reserve, Merchant Marines. Our government and our politicians don't care. They don't respect us. They don't believe in us. And sooner or later, we all got to wake up to the fact that we can't take this lying down anymore. Stop believing in your Democratic and Republican lawmakers. And to be fair, it's the GOP that's doing this. Yes, it's the GOP. But I'm not surprised. And let's face it, our politicians have been cruel. They abandoned us before. I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that our politicians, as Lorna said, being kind or compassionate is now foreign to them. It's unknown. They forgot. Or maybe this is who they really are. Maybe we're being ruled by sociopaths. Maybe we're being ruled over old people that really right now need to step aside. And I'm going to say that again. They need to step aside. Do you really have absolute confidence in Nancy or Turtle Boy Mitch McConnell? Because if you do, oh my goodness, whatever you do, protect your bank accounts because you might get hacked and your stuff will get stolen because then you're being naive. Lauren, any other final words?
I said what I believe about this, and it hasn't changed. I don't think these people remember what it is to be kind, and I hope that it is that, and they're not just monsters. I hope that it is something that they have just forgotten, because if it's been forgotten, it can be relearned. Like there are, I believe in second chances. I believe in making things right. I believe everyone has room for growth and improvement. And I think that everyone they have opportunities to make those choices and to make those changes. And I hope that these people will, and I hope that they can, and they do. But this is also why we say like term limits are so important, because if there's a specific time where they have to end, they're not spending all of their time campaigning because they can't, because it doesn't matter. They're going to end. Their term is going to end. They know it's going to end. So then there's more time for them to actually focus on doing the things that we elected them to do, which is make laws to serve us.
Agreed. It's a great note to end it on.